Yo, what's good? It's your girl Peek out here in Singapore. It is super late, y'all. I just finished up the podcast episode with August. It is every Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 a.m. Singapore Standard Time. But it's all good. We're talking about emotions today, and I feel like I needed to get on here and say a little something anyway. So, in retrospect of the whole conversation, I feel like the worst thing anybody ever could have done is introduce the concept of being PC, as in politically correct. I think we sidestep a lot of issues, we circumvent a lot of problems. We don't actually hit anything on the nose by speaking in a PC kind of tone. But if you're very honest with yourself, all of us are real quick to get offended, right? We're real quick to get offended, but then we want to be PC about it, so it becomes very passive aggressive. We make sure that we don't actually tell you off, but we kind of tell you off because excuse me. Oh my goodness. Excuse me. Because that's how we feel. But something that, one of the participants in the podcast episode actually brought up was the fact that we need to be able to draw boundaries. We need to be able to discuss ideas and concepts without getting offended, without taking things to heart, without transferring whatever it is that we're feeling to the other person. And I see that a lot. I see people who will call people on purpose because they know that person is going to give them the energy that they're craving. Let's say, I'm upset about, let's see, what kind of crazy thing can I come up with? Let's say that I'm really upset about the fact that my brother and I are not getting along. Maybe he said something that kind of pissed me off, and I retreated to my own corner. I hung up the phone on him because I was mad. I didn't want to say nothing else because I didn't want to get worse. But by cutting it off at that point and not going back to him in a timely fashion, I'm making the problem bigger than it is, right? So maybe as soon as I cut off the phone with him, I called somebody and was like, yo, guess what this fool done did? I can't believe he said this, this, and this to me, and I'm so mad at him right now I could spit nails. But the point is, why did I call that specific person? It's because I knew they would match me on the level that my emotions were at the time. A lot of times when people post stuff, even me, right? So I post things all the time. They're triggered by something that I felt or something that I saw, and it hit me really, really hard. So I decided to write about it because I figure if I feel this way, please, I'm sure everybody and their mother at some point has felt this kind of way, right? So when I write, though, I need to make sure that I'm in a positive mindset to be able to create the lesson in that moment rather than bitch and complain and then bring everybody else's energy down as well. I know for a fact a lot of times when I'm going through something, I will stay silent rather than put everything out on the street because it's going to come out wrong, because I'm in a negative headspace, because I'm not happy about what's going on and I don't understand it myself fully. I don't want to come out and be like, oh my God, I can't believe. I would rather just understand the situation first and then go from there. But not everybody knows that that's an option. Not everybody realizes that they have the chance to actually sit in their feelings for a second and understand where it's coming from before they come out their mouth and say something. A lot of times we would rather try to look like we're being the bigger person, but we're still, it was still like needling the other person by being PC. I hate being PC. I hate being politically correct. There is no politically correct. Everyone has an agenda. You might as well say it the way it is so that we can understand where it is that you're coming from. People will hide racism by being PC. People will hide biases, like really, really bad biases, by pretending to be PC. And I hate that because you are also denying who you are. You are giving yourself the illusion that you are one way when you're not. And to be honest, it leaves people open to interpretation, which means they can take offense or not, even if you meant it in the nicest way. You meant it from the bottom of your heart and it was, actually meant to be a compliment, but the way you said it, it came out and was taken the exact opposite direction. So if you don't take anything away from this podcast episode but this, I want you to really focus on the way you say things. Say it like it is. Stop using flowery words to make it sound better than it is. Stop Stop saying bless your heart when you know that you want to tell people that, you know what, you're full of shit, you're acting stupid, stop acting up. Just calm down and be a little bit more mature. We already know what bless your heart means. We know what the connotation is. And sometimes it's meant that way and sometimes it's not, but the fact is, we know what those terms generally mean. Y'all need to learn how to communicate effectively. Get to the point. Say it in as few words as possible, which means you got to make use of the 10-cent words instead of the 25-cent words. Be plain. Be honest. Be transparent. I can't tell my daughter bless her heart because she doesn't understand what I may potentially mean by that. She thinks, oh my gosh, you're thinking I'm so sweet. Oh my gosh, you're really looking out for the best of me, because she doesn't know any better. So if you can't say it like you would to a 6-year-old for them to understand, don't say it. Don't say it. A lot of people don't understand that the way they speak gives away who they are. Even if you're trying to cover things up in flowery terms, we can tell when you're just using flowery terms to sound smarter, or if you really do feel those ways about things, if you're used to speaking that way or not. So please, we all have emotions, we all have reactions, it's normal, but stop covering up what you're feeling with emotional, like flowery words. Stop being politically correct. Speak your truth. Be plain. Be simple. It's better when it's simple. It's easier to understand when it's simple. There's less ways for us to take it out of context when it's simple. I hope this made sense, because I started in one direction and I think I ended up in the other. But the point is, politically correct, that term, that idea, that habit, is probably the worst thing that could happen to conversations in general. It is the worst thing that could have happened to the way we communicate. And let's be honest, if we can't communicate with each other, we can't evolve as a species. We can't get to a better place. If we're still over here trying to, drop hints and be subtle and politically correct in order to get our message across, it's going to take us 10 years longer to understand what was really going on. Say it plain. You don't like me? Tell me. You don't agree with me? Tell me. You are entitled to your opinion, just like I'm entitled to mine. And yes, I teach based on my opinions. I teach based on my beliefs, which isn't to say that mine is the only way to heal yourself. There are plenty of people out there that do it in a different way. You find what fits you. You discard the rest. But be simple. Be as plain and simple as possible. You don't need the complication. It doesn't get you anywhere. Speak plainly. There's a moment in a movie called The Knight's Tale. It's one of my favorite movies because I love the way they speak Old English. And I was a big fan of Geoffrey Chaucer. Okay? And the character himself said, I would lay the grace of my tongue aside and speak plainly. Yeah, of course, I can make anything sound nice. I could cut you and make it sound like it was, a compliment, but that's not the point. I don't want anyone to not understand what it is that I'm trying to say. I don't want to be in a group of people where I say something gracefully and the person it was directed to is like, oh, wow. And everyone around them is like, ooh. I don't want that. I don't want that. If I got something to say, I'm going to say it plainly. If you and I have trouble, I'm going to tell you simply. Because I don't have time for you to figure out what I said. I don't have time for you to, haha, yeah, okay, cool, shake your head and walk off, and then 2 days later, it suddenly hits you like, damn, did she just fucking insult me in front of all my friends? I don't need that. I don't need that. If I got something to say, I'm going to say it. If you want to ask me about it, ask me right then and there. Because chances are, if you ask me a week later, I probably won't remember. Speak plainly. Speak simply. Learn to communicate with each other. Stop having conversations just to answer what you think they're asking you. Listen. Engage. Really pay attention to the conversation. That's how we fix all the relationships. That's how we come forward and really have lasting marriages. This is how we find significance and joy and learn to really enjoy life, appreciate life. It starts with our communications. Whatever I'm feeling inside my head has to come out of my mouth so you can understand in your head what I'm feeling without losing it in Chinese whispers, without losing it in translation. That's what communication is. Stop being PC, y'all. Stop with the passive aggressive. Stop with the, let's see if she can catch my drift. None of that. You may sound slick, you may sound intellectual or whatever for a minute, but you're not fooling anybody in the long run. Save your relationships, every last one of them. Put communication as your number one goal every day. Good, honest, truthful communication every day. Stop all this sly stuff, this slick stuff, all these flowery words. Stop all that. Be honest. Be simple. That's all I can say, y'all. I'm hoping you get the message. I'll touch you again soon. Good night.